Hello students, welcome back to the class of economics, Indian economic development that we are taking. Today we are going to start with a new topic, new chapter, that is infrastructure. See, infrastructure, as we always say, that it is basically a building block for an economy. It is a strengthening pillar for an economy that boosts the economy to a more higher extent. If we say that the infrastructure of any country or an economy, if it is sound, the country can progress to a many extent, to a many higher level in upcoming years. Say for example, the developed countries we know about, say for example UK, US, France, Italy, Germany, Spain, China, Japan, they all are having a sound infrastructural base. So today we have come up with the issue of infrastructure. Now, yes, as we know about the infrastructure, we need to say that it is a group of all sources that contribute as building blocks for the growth and development of an economy as a whole. It means if we say, we just need to see all the sources that makes up an infrastructure, and if all these sources are together work upon for the welfare, growth, development and prosperity of a nation, we can say the economy or a country will naturally be developed in very sooner span of years. So again we say infrastructure basically a group of sources that contribute towards the growth and development of an economy. They serve as a building blocks, or we can say they serve as a strengthening pillars for an economy to boost up. So we can say there are two types of infrastructure, that is social infrastructure and economic infrastructure. Social infrastructure, as we talk about, we divide into three categories, that is education, health and accommodation. As we told you earlier also, we have discussed several times that education is an essence of the society and economy. We need to be more literate, more educated, more professional, more qualified, more capable in order to grow more and strengthen more, enhance human capital formation, because it is the human capital formation that can build the economy, that can build the nation, right? And it is the human capital formation that can reduce the level of poverty and increase the level of employment. So we have three forms, as we told you: education, health and accommodation. As we talk about the health is again a great sort of infrastructure that is concerned with maintaining a suitable environment for disease-free area, or we can say where we can have a sound and free air to breathe, pure water, or we can say the proper medical facility are here with us in order to counter each and every possible level of diseases. Even in the arena of this pandemic, the coronavirus has been emerged out. We just need to be take more cautious and take more precautions rather than a cure. Since if we are contained with the coronavirus, we need to be quarantined for at least 20 days, right? So with respect to health also, we need to be built up so that the more and more people and the people of an economy should be free from the diseases, or the children should be stay away from, we can say, the severe diseases or the severe events that can happen at any time. Accommodation, as we told you about, as a housing facility. The housing facility should be very optimum for the people so that they may have a confidence over the government, over the economy, that where we are living in a foolproof, basically we can say a strong and strengthened accommodation facilities. So it is up to the government to provide more appropriate accommodation facilities. So all these three comes under social infrastructure. As we talk about economic infrastructure, again we can divide it or segregate it into three forms, that is power, communication and transport. If we talk about the power, we talk about the coal, electricity, natural gas, petroleum or electricity, wind energy, solar energy, biomass, biogas, etc. So we just need to concern about several sources of energy or power so that we can run every possible sectors of an economy. Then communication here we need to just make sure that we make a parity or relationship together. We can strengthen the bond between a person who are living in a separate places. The communication must be established in a very comfortable zone so that the person who is living or who is employed somewhere must be able to communicate for his work-related issues, for his home-related issue, for his family-related issue as early as possible. The communication must be established in the form of, say, telecom, right? In the form of, we can say, wireless communication, internet communication, and so on. Transport, if we talk about, means of transport must be developed in the form of road, sound bridges, we can say metro trains, flyovers, railways, and airports. They must be developed so strongly and we can say optimally so that we can able to transfer our goods, our people across the country at most reliable source. So that people must not be able to travel or by barefoot as we see in today's arena, that many migrant workers are just moving around by barefoot only. Lakhs and lakhs of migrant workers are just moving. Even then, the government have started the railways, or we can say the Mazdoor train even. So, basically objective of social infrastructure is to build and strengthen human capital formation, no doubt as I told you. And to develop economic infrastructure, the objective is to build and strengthen economic and political base of an economy or a country. It means we just need to be very strong with the economic issue and political issue. Okay, so if a person is traveling across country, within country, in any part of the country, he must be travel without any fear. Now, importance. If we talk about the importance of infrastructure, we have 9 key points over here. Number one, it enhances the growth and stability of an economy. It means infrastructure, when it is sound, developed, right, it can lead to more production of goods and services, it can lead to more development space, it can lead to more economic growth and stability. Stability in the sense, it can lead to maintenance of inflationary and deflationary pressures. Since if the goods and services are produced more than optimum number, we can counter the inflationary pressures too. Better human capital formation, the human resource will be more developed by the help of education, health and accommodation. People must be very secure and living at a place, they will be having a good source of education as well as the proper means of healthcare facilities. Then raise employment and better quality of life. It means it will lead to a more employment opportunities as we grow with the infrastructure. It will enhance the quality of life, and the pulsation power of the source of livelihood will increase as and when we come up with the new roads, new bridges, flyovers and metro stations. Then promote all sectoral growth. It leads to the increase in the all sectoral growth, let it be agriculture, industrial or we can say services sector. Since every sector demands the means of communication or transport to be facilitated, and this can be done with the help of sound or strong infrastructure base. Raising investment by FDI. Foreign nations love to invest in that country where the infrastructure is sound and proper for their goods and services to carry, for their project or for the business operations to carry smoothly in all parts of the country. So it will increase the level of investment through FDI. So helps in promoting balanced regional growth. It means it is definite that the development of infrastructure will reduce the disparity between urban area and rural area, and both can have a sound and a similar way of performance. None of them will have to see, or we can say, think about it. It is having a much less facility than the urban area. So if we say we help in promoting balanced regional development, it means both urban area and rural area can grow together, right? It means none of the people living in rural area be frustrating or being stressed to feel if we are not getting proper developmental facility or proper road or proper means of communication or transport system. Wider market, no doubt if we are having a good market system in urban area, it will be a same in rural area as well. It may be same across all the section or parts of the country. So it will increase to widen the market by developing the proper means of infrastructure. Again, it facilitated outsourcing. Whatever the work a company cannot be able is not able to do on its own, it can just transfer to or outsource to some other country, some other firm or some other company, so that it can focus on the main and strategic work for which the company has set up. So, for example, we can open more BPO centers, call centers, so that they can take all the general queries from the customer, get the solution from the company and resolve to the problem. So that the company may be able to furnish all the business operation very smoothly and for the optimum organization goals. Then, finally, it enhances the global competency. India has increased good global competency several times in past year also and still improvising it. It is all due to the proper development of infrastructure, but the growth is very moderate. We need to increase the level of growth in infrastructure so that we can increase much more global competency in all parts of the world. We must be able to let every country know that India has a name, India has a strength to world at large in terms of good infrastructure base, in terms of good human capital formation, in terms of good business relations that can happen with any terms, any company in all over the world. So, now in our chapter, as an economic infrastructure, we have included the energy section only. So, we just need to continue with energy as an economic infrastructure. It means it is a strength or it is a power essential for every sector. It means every sector, every household, every agriculture now requires energy. Since energy is basically a booster for every economical sector to run and grow. Every firm to run and grow. Without energy, even in our home, without electricity, we cannot furnish our work basically. Since there are lots and lots of work in basically laptop that we need to do under students and working professionals and various producers, owners are working from home now. Education from home now, online education is being facilitated. For this, we can say energy is required. So, forms we can say, we can divide into two forms basically, commercial and non-commercial. Commercial energy sources are those sources of energy where we can say they are basically recognized source of energy, are basically paid, not freely available or in abundance. They are to be manufactured and then they are used to be applied for commercial use. For example, electricity, petroleum product, coal and natural gas. Electricity is applied in industrial firms, agriculture, commercial purpose and residential houses. Petroleum products are being applied in transport system and in various parts of the industry, industrial sectors as well. Coal is used to produce electricity in thermal power stations, right? And natural gas is used for basically fertilizers and insecticide as well as for LPG in houses. As we are using the cylinder, the gas which we are using is basically compared with natural gas, or we can say LPG or CNG. Non-commercial energy are those that are available in abundance, that are basically free of nature. We can receive, for example, firewood, agriculture and animal waste, and they are basically not much in use since they are traditional way of energy, they are modern way of energy, right? In our houses, we used to have electricity. The use of electricity is very high. Since we can say there are three sources by which electricity can be produced: by use of hydroelectric power plant, by way of thermal electric power plant, by way of atomic electric power plant. So if we talk about, say, hydroelectric power plant, after the independence, we have banned on the for the production of electricity on hydroelectric power plant. Basically, where the electricity was being produced by the facilitation of water. So through water we used to produce electricity, but we have switched over from hydro to thermal power plant since they run due to coal, and we had a huge reserves of coal in our India. We had a great coal mines from where we extracted the coal, and that coal had been utilized for the production of electricity in a very huge amount. And we facilitated the entire India to lighten up with electricity. So we can say now the third most prominent power plant that we have established, and it is operating from 1970 to 71 only, that is atomic power plant. Atomic power plant, or because the nuclear power plant is basically generating much wider amount of electricity than we can assume. But this is now in more operation. It is going to be used much in operation in coming years too. So if we talk about the use of commercial energy, non-commercial energy, there are two other forms also: conventional source and non-conventional source. Conventional are the same as commercial, as we know it. It means they are used in normal course of operations. And we can say non-conventional sources are basically biogas, biomass, wind energy, solar energy. It means these conventional sources have been detected long decades back, but with respect to biogas, biomass, wind energy, solar energy, they have been discovered in the recent past only. So we can say these are the non-conventional sources of energy, these are conventional sources of energy that are available. Now student, we can have a small look at the sectoral consumption of energy, where industrial sector is the highest usage of the energy by 41.16%. This is basically the data that has been collected by 2018 and 19. And industrial sector consisting of manufacturing and service sector. Then if we talk about commercial consumption, as we know about that the people who are maintaining their shop, retail stores, big bazaar like and Reliance such like, and many people who have opened their commercial shop, at that commercial sector the consumption is 8.24%. Agricultural sector the consumption is 17.69%, and household sector that is 24.76%. It means household consumption is very high. It is just next to industrial sector. Since the people are ready, so they need electricity, as I told you, we need the electricity in a very high amount, since we used to run fan, bulbs, light, air conditioner, heaters, refrigerator, washing machine, LED, and so on. So there are many products that we can and we have to use with the help of electricity, and electricity is the source of energy. Now, the challenges that we need to meet out. Challenges are inadequate generation. Inadequate generation just because of there is basically a load in PLF much more. PLF means plant load factor. It means when the thermal power plant is producing more amount of electricity, it is need to generate more because the production loss is very huge, since we need to use more technical equipment, and the equipment are of less quality, and some of them have become very old, they need to get replaced. So if we talk about the quantity use of production, that is inadequate generation of electricity or power due to heavy load of PLF. Now, if we talk about less capacity utilization, it means if we talk about the thermal power plant, that is a huge power plant, instead we say the capacity has been utilized as under. Since we need to be furnished and inbuild the power plant with the modernized means of equipment, so that with the fullest capacity we may be able to generate huge amount of power and electricity in the near future. Transmission and distribution loss. It means there is a transmission distribution loss, and more about 30 to 35% electricity or power is being consumed or lost during transmission distribution. There are several instances when people living in rural and slum area used to pick the electricity unauthenticated. Means when they are having the unauthorized access of electricity, and also there are some government officials that are making the unauthorized use of heavy electricity. It means they are making huge amount of transmission and distribution losses. Also, the suppliers are basically obsolete or basically very old in carrying out the huge amount of electricity. They need to be replaced, as I already told you. And that's why the major concern is now what the government is doing. That government is just giving the underground supply of the electricity by inserting the pipe under the earth, so that we may be able to remove all these pillars that are carrying the electricity. And if we are removing all such electricity pillars, we may be able to carry out smooth electricity transmission, so that there may not be any transmission or distribution loss in future. So this may be a remedial measure. Overrated prices. Yes, the prices of electricity is very high. Despite the fact there are heavy losses. Since if we talk about the overrated pricing, the government used to increase the level of prices at any time, and when it raises the price, the burden comes to the people, the household, agriculture as well. Since in agriculture we talk about, they are given the subsidies, high amount of subsidies, and the burden of that subsidy is being shifted on to the industrial as well as household sector, and we need to bear the brunt of it, and that's why the charges of the electricity are raised anonymously. Heavy loss of state electricity boards. Now, despite overrated prices, despite huge amount of electricity, maritime prepared thermal power plant, but since there is an inadequate generation, there is a transmission distribution loss, there is heavy losses of state electricity boards across all India. It means there is a loss and continuous loss of state electricity board. That is a big consideration and a matter of concern for the government to undertake so that we may be able to reduce losses. Since the officials of state electricity board are also inefficient in their performance of duties. Every person must honor their duty with due time, with due dedication, so that we must be able to reduce the losses. We must work upon to reduce the losses and misery of the state electricity boards. Then finally, there is a monopoly control. Electricity board till now is a monopoly control. It means there is a less or very, we can say no or zero participation of the private or foreign players. It means we just need to build a situation, or we just need to create a disinvestment opportunity so that the government may allow the participation of private entrepreneurs to come and work with government, so that the losses must be removed. So these are basically challenges that we have taken so far, and the remedial measures we have suggested you along with them. So this is the session 1 of the infrastructure that we have taken with you. In the second part of the infrastructure, we will be dealing with the social infrastructure, and we will be taking the topic of health. And then we will discuss what is the position of health in India and what steps should be taken to improvise the health sector. Okay, students? So, till then, thank you so much, students, for viewing our lecture. Till then, stay safe, stay happy, stay healthy, stay coronavirus free. Till then, thank you so much.